Coming up on Look Today, well, an archaeological dig is currently underway near Rogers Island in Fort Edward, and we were there today. Plus, Crandall Public Library in Glens Falls is encouraging self-sustainability with their seed library program. How about that? More on that coming up. And Queensbury Town Board will hold a public hearing tonight on a proposed law involving septic systems within the townships. All ahead on Look Today. Welcome everyone, I'm Jay Hood Jackson and this is Look Today. On tonight's program, I sit down with Tom Simcoe. He's a tax attorney with Bond, Shenick & King, and he's here to talk with us about the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision to make state retail sales tax apply to online purchases. Big one. It's part of our series, A Look at Law. I also sit down with Marty Vaneggs. He's president of the Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership. He's here to talk with us about SemiCon West. That's going on right now in San Francisco, as well as the GSA Silicon Summit, which will be taking place right here in Saratoga Springs in October. All about economic development. Plus, we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties, but first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, an archaeological dig is currently underway near Rogers Island in Fort Edward. Now, the dig is funded through the SUNY Adirondack Archaeology Field School and is spearheaded by Dr. David Starbuck. Now, they're in search of artifacts from the 1700s in an extensive settlement near Rogers Island and several large merchants' houses where soldiers and officers lived and bought some of their supplies. Now, the dig isn't just for students, by the way, so if you'd like to get involved, you can sign up and join the excavation. Well, we were there today, and we spoke to Dr. David Starbuck about the dig site.
Here in Fort Edward, we often call it the third largest city in America because underneath the streets, the houses, the yards of Fort Edward was one of the biggest encampments of the whole French and Indian War. The British Army in the late 1750s built huts, barracks, put up tents, storehouses, and to service that enormous British army, merchants, sutlers came to town to sell goods to the army.
Wow, did you hear what he said? This is where we live, folks. Right here. All right, in other news, well, Crandall Public Library in Glens Falls is encouraging self-sustainability with a seed library program. What is that, you say? Well, it's free, by the way. You can participate in the program. Here's how it works. They ask that after you harvest, when your plants produce seeds, you donate them back to the seed library. Well, the program was made possible by a grant from the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. We spoke to Kathy Natafali, director of the Crandall Public Library.
We'd love people to be able to grow these plants. It's a little late in the season, but if you look at the growing times, most will be able to be planted now and harvested in the fall. And some you'll even be able to get a second harvest like lettuce and some radishes, that kind of thing.
It's a very unusual program. It's great, and leave it to Kathy to figure this one out. Switching from news to weather. Today, another beautiful day, right? Unbelievable. Temperatures in the 80s, no humidity, blah, blah, blah. Let's see how the rest of the week shapes up. For a more detailed look at our weather, let's head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm meteorologist Clarence Sponsor with your first look weather update on Look TV. As we take a look at the national satellite and radar from earlier today, there's Hurricane Chris making its way northeast. We're staying offshore as we take a look at the tower view. Here's that hurricane. We're under high pressure, so no threat of any bad weather in general. There is that state stream front that's keeping Chris away from the United States coastline. If you're planning on going to the beaches in the next couple of days, be prepared for high surf and plenty of rip currents. More locally, we'll have high pressure that will bring sunny weather and clear skies. Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear, 51. Sunny weather weather to start your Thursday. Upper 50s at 7 a.m., lower to mid 60s by 8 to 9 a.m. We'll be on our way to 81 degrees, featuring a northeast wind at about 5 miles per hour. And despite temps reaching the 70s and 80s, would you prefer 70s or 80s or 100 to 110? Because that's how hot these cars will be in as little as 15 minutes. So please check the back seat. 80s are in the forecast, eventually the lower 90s by Monday. Plenty of sunshine except for Saturday when that warm front comes by, and we'll have a 50% threat of showers and storms. Lows will be generally, by the time we get to Friday morning, at least the mid-60s. That was your forecast update on First Look Weather on Look TV. I'm meteorologist Clarence Ponser. Now send it back to you, Jesse.
Andrew in the control room is laughing about check your back seat. We keep trying to figure out why you're checking your back seat. Shouldn't you know what's back there? I don't know. All right, back to the news. Queensbury Town Board is going to hold a public hearing tonight on a proposed law involving septic systems within the townships. Now, the law make it necessary for septic systems near Lake George, Glen Lake, and Lake Sunnyside to be dug up and inspected prior to the sale of one of those properties. Now, they expect it to cut down on the amount of older septic systems that could be leaking into these lakes. Now, in its current form, the law would require the homeowner to pay for the inspection and give them a year to sell the property before another inspection would need to be completed. Now, the meeting is slated to begin at 7 p.m. and include more information on the proposed law. All right, up next, I sit down with Tom Simcoe. He's a tax attorney with Bond, Shenick & King, and he's here to talk with us about a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision to make state retail sales tax apply to online purchases. Powerful interview. It's part of our series, A Look at Law. I also sit down with Marty Vanags. He's the president of the Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership, and he's here to talk with us about Semicon West. It's going on right now in San Francisco, and they are there, as well as GSA Silicon Summit, which is going to be taking place here in Saratoga Springs in October. It's all about economic development. But first, you see news happening, you want to share a story idea. How about join us for an interview? Then give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. Tonight's Lookout goes to Adirondack Theater Festival. Last night, my wife and I attended Loch Ness. And if you didn't see the interview, go on our website and you'll see the interview I did with Chad Rabinovitz, producing artistic director for the Adirondack Theater Festival, about this show. We had to go see it for ourselves. I can't even tell you how amazing it is to see that level of theater being produced right here in Glens Falls. It is just amazing. The staging, the writing, the pacing, and the acting it's just amazing to watch. I know I'm overstating it a bit, but I'm not. I'm telling you right now. And it's sold out, and it's a standing ovation, and it just goes to show you. It's like Field of Dreams. You build it, and they will come. Chad's in tomorrow, by the way. We're going to talk about Loch Ness, and we're going to talk about the next play coming up as well. But really, I encourage you. Loch Ness is running between now and July 15 at Wood Theater in Glens Falls. Make it a case. The story is about as heartwarming as you can imagine, and the special effects and the staging and the acting is first class. Tonight on Look TV, Saratoga City Council meeting, and don't forget, tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.